Hey ladies and gents, this is Linda, Thepiecebypiece, and today I'm coming at you with a design tee project for the Piece by Piece. Now I made this particular project for a swap I'm in, so I really hope she likes it. It's one of the smaller pieces I'm including in the swap. We've agreed to both make 3 things, kind of our choice, whatever we decided, tickled our fancy to make for each other. So let me move my sign out of the way and show you some things that I used first. Now I started with, this is a frame that I have decorated, and I started with one of these frames, these kind of double frames from the Dollar Tree. And it is a black kind of plastic frame, okay? So just wanted to point that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the laces that I use from Beverly's store, because some of them, as you're layering things, tend to get covered up. So the first lace that I used was this real pretty pink kind of tulle lace, gathered lace, very pretty. And then over the top of that, I layered it with this white trim, beautiful scallop lace. And over the top of that, one of my favorites, this beautiful trim. And then I made a handmade flower in there, and I used this as the bottom layer. And then I used a couple of resin pieces, obviously in different color, but I used this frame, I used the ivory. And then I also used one of Beverly's cute little birds. I used the pink bird. I just think they're cool. And the pink bird was a little bit too pink, so I just kind of whitewashed it down with gesso. So these resin pieces, if they're not your color, they're very easy to paint and, make it pretty to match your project you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my frame. There we go. This is what I have come up with. As you can see, it's little Shabby Chic. Love it. I hope she does too. Okay, I'm going to bring it in. Now, start with the base of the frame. Bring it in close to the camera. It'll focus. There, you can see the texture. All I did on that to make the texture was used a foam paintbrush and some gesso. And I just put on about 4 or 5 coats. And I tapped the gesso on as I did it, and that foam brush just gave it that real nice light texture. And I like that I tapped it because some of the black of the frame actually kind of shows through a little bit. It's not completely covered, and I actually kind of like that. So let's start over on the left side. Let me see, move my light just a bit. There we go. So down this left side, as you can see, here's that pink tulle lace. And then I've got over and I just gathered that down the side. Even though it's gathered, I still gathered it some more down the side when I glued it. And let me see, one moment please. There we go, a little bit better lighting maybe. And then over the top of that is that white lace that I gathered down the side. And then again over the top of that is that real beautiful ivory trim over the top of that. Okay, then you can't really see it because things get covered up as you layer, but right here, sorry about the lighting, the reflection of the glass is going to show my lights overhead. I started with the doily, a white crocheted doily underneath. Okay, and then so over the top of that I made a mold of the Prima wings, and these and then of course used clay and made my own. These are little pink. And then this is a key from Michael's, one of those $1.50 keys. And then this is just some gem spray that I love to use on my projects. From the key, I started to dangle some chain because I wanted to do chain that was uniform, that kind of gathered through the entire ensemble of this frame to kind of make it, one piece, to kind of tie it all together. So from the bottom of the key, I used a little jump ring, and I hooked one of these little Prima romance novel tiles. It's not really the tile, but it's the metal trinket piece to it. And then in the corner right here, as you can see, I took one of those Wild Orchid Crafts metal frames, and I just kind of cut it in half. And then I glued it to the front of this frame just to give it some texture. And then over the top of that, I used, this is those bead landing clock hands, so I put a clock hand over it. And then on top of that, this is a teeny tiny porcelain flower. I put a couple more of these on the project. I believe I got these in a big bunch of stuff that I picked up at a garage sale. It was just a little bag of about 8 of them. But anyway, so I used that to kind of make it pretty. And then over onto the right side of the key, I've got, you know, a bunch of different flowers from my stash. This is a flower, a wonderful friend of mine, she came over to scrapbook with me just the other day, and when she knocked on the door and I went to go open the door, she was standing to the side of it. I couldn't see her, but I could see her hand stuck out with about 4 bunches of these fabric flowers that she had picked up at a garage sale for me. I thought that was so sweet. I love these. They're just so super pretty. So of course I'm going to include them on this project. And it's really cool because there's this open flower. And then over here, it's a little teeny tiny rosebud. And then it has like a bigger rosebud with it. So you had 3 flowers on that. But anyway, just a little short story I had to tell you. So a bunch of different flower combinations. I've got a white spring coming out here. This is one of Beverly's resin birds. And like I said, it was a little bit too pink, so I just whitewashed it with some gesso. And I just think it just gave it a real nice shabby chic look. And then at the top of that, you can kind of see poking right here is a bauble, little clear bauble. Over here, I've got a wooden word, says wish, and forgive me, I can't remember the brand it came from. This is the homemade flower I made. I twisted the center. This is the lace poking out underneath from Beverly's shop. I know, forgive my boo-boo. When I was hanging chain and stuff, the little jewelry pliers slipped and got my finner. I know, right? It's okay. Okay, and then so from the bottom of that key, I've swung the chain over. Now this chain was black, and all I did is I took gesso in my fingers and I just rubbed it all through the chain just to kind of whitewash it and give it a little more of a shabby chic look. And then, so chain coming through. These are the Prima words, always, the Prima little wooden letters. I took a little drill and I drilled a teeny tiny hole in the W, and from that I hung a little clock charm from Bead Landing. And then the chain comes up and over into the corner, and I actually put a couple of jump rings on there, and then I hooked it into the screw of the brackets on the frame. Okay, at the bottom of the word always, I did another little clock hand from Bead Landing and another little porcelain rose. And then I decided to put a little poem on this side. It is part of a poem, but I love it. I think it's pretty. It says, "Love is beautiful. You are enhanced by my love. I am enhanced by you, love. I love because of you, and you are the reason for all my tomorrows. Your love makes my life complete." And that's by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I just think it's such a beautiful poem. I know, right? I know, it's my romantic heart coming into play. Okay, and so on to the next side. Oh, and did I mention at the top here, on this frame, I used the Prima brick mask, and I took some gesso and mixed it with some acrylic paint, and then, which this was a little bit difficult, believe it or not, I kind of held the mask in place and, you know, did the texture of the brick mask over the top. But what was difficult was trying to roll the mask over a rolled area, but I think it came out good. And it's really thick. I mean, you can see the thickness of it. I just like how thick, I mean, when I put it on there, I put it on thick intentionally like that, so I think that came out kind of cool. Anyway, back over to this side, I put, again, that brick mask here. And then I also put the brick mask up, if I get my hand out of the way, up here on the upper right part of the frame. Now this part, I put some designer paper in. Both of this paper for both sides come from the Prima romance novel. But, you know, I just put this in there so it's pretty, but I left this spot open so that this wonderful lady could put a picture in here if she would like to. So let's start over. Actually, let's go back to the chain. So from the hinge, I drooped the chain up and over to this side, which is the little resin. I'll turn it to the side. There you can see it, the resin frame from Beverly's shop, the ivory one. So on that frame, what I've done is I added a little clay angel wing. I made this from a mold. And then I added a little locket, and this is from Bead Landing Locket. And then I added some more of the crystal gem spray I love to use. Some more flowers. This is that rosebud that came in that little flowers my friend gave me, little gift. From the bottom of the frame, I drilled a teeny tiny hole, and I hung another key. And I hung this. This is from, it's either Tea Time or Romance Novel, one of those trinkets, but what I did is I glued one of the little porcelain roses on the top of it. I just thought that made it look sweet. And then this is a little glass bottle, and as you can see, let me see if I can make, it is filled with teeny tiny, not glass beads, just little teeny tiny beads and little pink hearts. Let me show you what I got. I went to Dollar Tree, and they have these, and it's actually nail art, and they're little mini bottles, and they're about 1 inch tall, and each of them, I grabbed about 5 packages of them. They all have different stuff in it, and so the one I chose happened to have the little tiny pink hearts and the beads. I thought that just made it look really cute. Okay, now back to the frame. Over here, as you can see, I wrapped and kind of swirled the Tim Holtz film strip ribbon. And then at the bottom here of the frame, I put in one of Tim Holtz plackets. It says, "Know in your heart you are loved." And then in the very corner, I added one of those Wild Orchid Crafts metal frames. Okay, that's it. We made it through it. What do you guys think? Is it pretty? I think it's pretty. I hope she likes it. And I love that even though I hung things kind of off the bottom and below the frame, that when you sit it down, they just kind of lean forward onto the tabletop, and you know, the frame still sits upright, and it's really pretty. But anyway, there it is, my design team project. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.